Welcome to Remix EQ Live, where we're amplifying equity with a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Tate, and today I am broadcasting live from Savannah, Georgia, where I live. For those who are joining us today, please drop a greeting of choice in the comments. Let us know where you are joining from and the equity driven work you do or aspire to do. And remember, Remix EQ Live is an experience that's meant to be shared. So I encourage you to hit your share and invite buttons and bring along your people, your network, your family, your friends, your peeps to join our Remix EQ community today. This season, we are broadcasting live on LinkedIn and YouTube so we can now connect more broadly, growing our reach and building our learning community. While those comments are flowing in and those invitations are flowing out, I want to remind you that Remix EQ Live offers the opportunity for us to connect and build community with each other around the equity driven work being performed throughout the world. And we do this by centering the work. That is, our guests and viewers share examples of what they do in their role or position as a way to illustrate the innovative, effective, and meaningful ways they advance equity in the spaces in which they live, work, and play. So, throughout the show and in the comments, I invite you to also share what you do to make the world a more just place. It is season 4 of Remix EQ Live, and this is the second to last show of the season. In this episode, I am interviewing Rachel E. White, Vice President, Business Connect Advisor at Truist, and Victoria Saxton, President and CEO of the Small Business Assistance Corporation. Today, we are sitting down with two bankers, two executives in the finance industry to discuss strategies and practices for closing the funding gap for women and BIPOC, Black, Indigenous, people of color, entrepreneurs, and facilitating their business success. And yes, these beautiful Black women, these are fierce business advocates, are located right here in Savannah, Georgia, where we live. So let us begin this important conversation for change that will surely have an impact locally and, of course, beyond. Welcome, Rachel and Victoria. So glad and excited for you to join our show
Thank
today.
you.
But I'm going to start with you, Rachel. I invite you to introduce yourself. And as you do, please share any career or personal twists and turns that have led you to your current role.
Well, thank you, Dr. Tate, for allowing me to be here with you and Victoria and the Remix EQ Live community. I am Rachel White, and I have been serving in the banking industry now for over 22 years. I started in the industry as a branch manager trainee, climbed the corporate ladder to my current role as a business connect advisor. And so I've worked with clients, I've provided financial advice for clients with negative balances all the way up to million plus balances. So I consider myself well rounded in that sense. But in my current role, I specifically serve as the primary contact for a portfolio of business clients who have sales revenues between 2 and 10 million. And I act as a strategic advisor, providing them lending solutions to their lending needs, while also bringing in subject matter experts and industry consultants that provide strategic advice throughout their entire business life cycle. So I really love the team that I work with and the help that we're providing these business owners, whether it's working capital needs to grow their business, create more jobs, continue family legacy, but ultimately impacting the communities that we serve. So love the work that we do. But today, I am not here as a spokesperson for Truist. I'm here to share my personal experiences and how I support women and BIPOC business owners. And just excited to do that. But with all that being said, I must honestly say, becoming part of the personal career twist, becoming a banker was not my dream job, right? That was not my dream role. I graduated from the University of Michigan with a degree in communication. And while there at U of M, I was one of the co-founders with my best friend of a group called Sister to Sister, where we taught our mission was to bridge the gap, right, between women of color. And we leverage conversations and discussions about issues affecting women. And I thought with my experience there and my communications degree from the University of Michigan, I was going to land my dream job as a news broadcaster, right, or become the next Oprah. But obviously that did not happen. And I had a choice of either moving back to Smith Creek, Michigan to help my father run his asphalt paving company business or find a job that would hire me. So I decided to move to the big city of Detroit and literally one day put my suit on and my business suit on and my confidence and walked into a bank, a Comerica Bank, spoke with the branch manager and shared with her my passions and dream just to really to help and empower people. And 2 weeks later, I was hired, and full circle. I'm not that news broadcaster, but I get to do what I love, which is sharing information and empowering people. So that's me in a nutshell.
Well, thank you. We're glad to have you, and we look forward to learning more about how you share and how you empower the community around, as with respect to business owners. Ooh, I like the sister. I like the whole leveraging conversations. I'm really into that. All right. Okay, and Victoria, I invite you to introduce yourself. And of course, as you do, please share any career or personal twists and turns that have led you to your current role.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Tate, as well, and for the community listening in today. So, I am the newly appointed president and CEO, just starting the first month. So, October 1st was my appointing time to reign this great organization. I am a Savannah State University alumni, HBCU. I received my bachelor's there in accounting, and then I moved on to Georgia Southern. So I'm also an Eagle alumni and got my master's degree. So I just always have a love for numbers. I love math. And when I pursued my education in accounting, I just continued to grow in love with it. And I, realized that accounting is the language of business. So with my education, I was able to help out more people in a more serious manner than what I'd expected. And kind of my entry into professionalism actually started out in a nonprofit. And that's just kind of been the world that I stayed in, is nonprofit. So I started out interning from Savannah State at a nonprofit and just stayed under that umbrella ever since. And when I started working with SBAC, I was only a part-time staff accountant. So I started to learn more about what the organization did and how many people and businesses that the organization helped. And it just kept inspiring me. And I just wanted to stay there and be a contributor to the great work that was already being done. And the more I got involved, the more I became an asset, and then the promotions just kept coming. And so it's been 8.5 years later. And again, now I'm sitting from a part-time staff accountant, working my way up to now being the president and CEO. So I guess just my accounting background, the love for the work that's being done in the nonprofit sector were my pathways into making it to where I am today.
That's great. Thank you. I love accounting is the language of business.
I like that. I like that.
I think that's great. And I appreciate you giving us some insight into how you advance within an organization. So it's great to see that you started as a part-time staffer, and through your success, and I think you said it's showing that you were an asset, right, to the organization, is how you moved up to the top role, CEO and president. So thank you so much for sharing, and definitely connect to Rachel and Victoria in the comments during the show. Hello, Brianna Matchett. She says, hey, so happy to be joining from Tallahassee. And then we have, good morning, says Joseph Matchett. I'm joining from the beautiful city of Forsyth, Georgia. All right, welcome.
Welcome.
Yes. And for those who are just joining us, this is Remix EQ Live, where we are amplifying equity through a remix of information, interviews, and inspiration. Now that you've had the chance to meet and reconnect to Rachel White and Victoria Saxton, I know that you are inviting others to tune in. And of course, I invite you to connect with us. So please post comments to say hello. Let us know that you are in the digital building. Ask questions, share examples and learnings as we dive into this interview. You are part of this Remix EQ Live experience. So now we center the work. This is an opportunity for us to learn from Rachel and Victoria about how they support women and BIPOC business owners to secure capital and increase business success. So we'll start with you, Rachel. So in your role as Vice President, Business Connect Advisor at Truist, how do you support women and BIPOC business owners to secure capital?
Well, I support by seeking opportunities such as these, to facilitate what I consider lending one-on-one and ask the banker sessions where I provide advice and share knowledge of what I've learned. But most importantly, I talk about what it takes to prepare to borrow from a bank. And during these sessions, I talk about the 5 C's of credit and the bank's approach in assessing them, the importance of, understanding and assessing your own business financials. And I often share the personal experience of my father's business journey, because I think, life experiences and sharing that is so important. But I share his business journey and the pitfalls that he faced because he did not have an advisor. He did not have someone knocking at his door wanting to share, hey, let me talk to you about how to better position your business. He was the first Black asphalt paving company in the small town of Smiths Creek, Michigan, and he self-financed his growth. He self-financed his growth until he couldn't. And what I've learned was that, going back and understanding the value of having someone there at the beginning, at the start of your business to give you this advice, to help you come up with different strategies to leverage capital. In his case, he financed until he couldn't finance anymore. And although he had the excellent credit, although he had the collateral, he did not have the trusted advisors for his business financials. So when he went to the bank to get that working capital that line of credit needed to expand his business, he couldn't. And so I take that, I use that story not only to encourage startup business owners, business owners who are in their growth stage, to make sure that you have an advisor, to make sure that you're having these conversations early, so you can have access, so you can be prepared to access capital. But that's really, I want to make sure that I'm providing that support and being a resource for business owners. And I'm knocking on the door. You're not waiting for it. I'm coming to the community.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I love that you're like ask a banker, lending 101. So every time you step out in the community, that's Rachel White. And then also, I think you said in there, like leveraging capital, right? Could you share more, like, why is it important for like business owners to leverage capital or seek capital versus financing themselves?
Well, and again, using my father as a prime example, he financed his growth in his asphalt paving company. He had, when he'd start a job, he's using that cash on hand to complete that job. But when he would have had the opportunity to really have a working line of credit, now you're not just doing one job, you're doing 2 jobs because you're not waiting for that customer to pay you. So it's important to understand those type of strategies. But for him, he was still making money, right? I still had my gross, and I had my gross receipts. But at the end of the day, the net profits were minimum because he was not able to do more to leverage that money to leverage the cash on hand that he had.
Thank you. Thank you for that. All right. Victoria, so you are currently the new President and CEO of the Small Business Assistance Corporation, which is a community development financial institution. So I have 2 questions for you, but this first question before we start is, will you explain to our community the difference between a CDFI and a bank?
Yes. So CDFI are basically organizations that are mission focused on helping to serve the underserved communities. Some say economically disadvantaged communities. CDFIs can actually be a credit union. It could be a bank. It could be a loan fund. That's what SBAC is. And it can also be venture capital fund. The difference is how much of the activities in those underserved markets that your organization serves. And so the requirement in order to get that certification, you have to go through the Department of Treasury and prove on an annual basis that at least 60% of your portfolio or your activities are done in those economic disadvantaged communities. Another difference too is that traditional banks, they may serve those areas, but you have to keep in mind that they serve a much larger audience, so they may not be able to meet that 60% target area. And they also deal with a lot more wealthier clients because they have all the money. The banks have all the money. And they also have stricter lending requirements. So they're sometimes limited on what they can do because they are regulated by the Federal Reserve System. So the biggest difference, again, a CDFI can be a bank, but as long as that the bank is providing that 60% of activities in underserved communities, then that's what makes the difference from a CDFI.
Perfect. Thank you for that education. I appreciate it. And I know others do too. Okay, so now you have stepped into this role as president and CEO. How does your decision-making or influence increase access to capital for women and BIPOC business owners?
So first, I would say I am excited, and I feel like this new opportunity, this role for me is going to be very fun because, like you said, of the influence and the impact that will result for some of the decisions that I make on behalf of the organization. And I believe that sometimes you feel more comfortable when you're seeing a female and a minority to help build that comfort level to help increase that access to capital to those women in BIPOC communities. Not everybody need it, but for some, it does mean a lot. So just being who I am encourages others that look like me to, take that fear out of lending or not, that fear of wanting to know or wanting to learn, and help encourage them to seek out more information on how capital can actually help them in their business. And just like Rachel shared, sometimes in our community, we're not taught to actually borrow. It's always a negative concept. So to see that, no, in actuality, that's how a lot of businesses move a lot further because they are leveraging their money with additional sources of capital to pursue and, expand their dreams. So I would just hate to say it like that, but, just being who I am, a female and a minority, I do feel like that presence alone will encourage others to, again, seek out information and really get the assistance that they need.
Thank you. I love that, being who you are. I am glad that you women are who you are, and I appreciate both of you sharing what you do to make a difference and really highlighting how your work within this industry is mission driven. Despite the organizations that you work with and the communities that you serve, like you really can feel that you guys have a passion to educate and inform communities so that they can grow and give back in the ways that they want to, including business ownership. So thank you. Oh, we have someone who's joining us, Whitney Dozier. Hello, all. Hello to you. Thank you for joining us. So in the Remix EQ community, we are always ready to add examples and strategies and tools to our repertoire as we work to make the world a more just place. This helps us connect to and visualize the very important work that you do, but it also enables us to learn from and with you about the experiences of the people and the places that you are serving in your work. So Rachel, what are key barriers to business success for women and BIPOC entrepreneurs? And what advice or wise counsel do you provide them to overcome these barriers?
Well, access to capital, that's number one. But I don't want to forget about, that when we talk about other challenges, access to capital, confidence, and also saturation. That's when you can read them with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. And so those are the top three barriers that women and BIPOC entrepreneurs face. And I really want to address the confidence one, right now, because we talked about the working capital, and my recommendations in how to overcome that barrier. You have to build your network. You have to build your network of advisors early. Even when you have that idea that you want to start a business, start building your network. Be intentional about making your interactions with your banker not just transactional. Because a lot of business owner, hey, my banker knows me, but do they know you? Do they know your business goals? Do they know what you're trying to achieve? Have they introduced you to the other subject matter experts within the bank that they serve, to help streamline processes, to help you increase efficiencies? Your banker has that knowledge, but often what I found just throughout my 22 years in my career, it's more of that transactional. Everyone else knows your name, but do you take the time to have those consultative conversations with your bankers? That's number two. Build that relationship. Don't let it just be transactional. Let it be relational with your banker. In addition to that, get involved in your chamber. There's so much information, the Black chambers provide, and other resources and connections that, you have your network of advisors, you have your network of mentors, but now you need a network of peers. So then now you can call on that industry and that business owner who's within your industry. You see that they've been in business 4 or 5 years. Can you share some best practices? We need to continue to have these open and honest conversations about what's going well and what's not going so well, and adjust accordingly. The other thing that I also would advise in order to build that confidence, and I'll talk about this all the time, being prepared, to know what to expect when you're going to the bank to borrow, but having your bookkeeper or your accountant a part of those conversations. Right, early. Hire a bookkeeper or an accountant that can talk about profit and loss and balance sheets. Meet with them on a quarterly basis. Review your cash flow statement so you really understand the state of your business. And we all know business owners are busy, right? They're busy running their business. But these are things that you should be intentional about doing, because this is when we talk about growth. This is when we talk about creating legacy. This is when we talk about where do we need to make some adjustments, because I know when I go to the bank, they want to make sure that this debt service, your business cash flows to support this additional debt. So what does that actually mean? And being able to have that conversation with them. And lastly, again, the confidence to overcome having confidence is half the battle, because then when I'm going to the bank and I know that I've talked to Rachel, I've talked to Victoria, I've talked to my accountant, I understand what the bank's minimum expectations are, the requirements are. When I go with my package, I'm pretty confident that, hey, it's going to get done. And if it doesn't get done, then I'm confident that I can call Rachel and she's going to advocate for me. Because if there's a decline and if there's any mitigating factors that were not considered but are warranted to be considered, I'm going to advocate for you. I'm going to go back to that underwriter and say, look, did we take a look at this? So all of those things play in that part in overcoming that barrier of confidence.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate you couching your advice, or framing it as building confidence as a business owner, and really emphasizing that the connections to network of advisors, network of peers is a way that you build confidence, the way that you feel that you can run this business and you can go in informed and ask for more capital and hopefully get it, right? With that. And so I love that framing on it. Like, you're building the confidence of business owners by telling them, or recommending to them that they seek advice, that they learn, and that they're prepared, which is how we, I think, but I'm in education, so this is how we want all our learners, right?
Yes.
That's how we build a confident learner, right, in school, and then you're building a confident learner in business. So thank you for that. Victoria, so what education and resources has your organization provided that builds the capacity and confidence of women and BIPOC business owners to start and sustain successful business?
Well, I'll focus on one program that I actually helped develop. we found out that the number one reason for declines are because of your credit score. Your credit score is not high enough. And so instead of sending the decline letter, sorry, your credit score hasn't met the requirements, we created a credit building loan program. And the goal is to, give those low credit individuals an opportunity to not only build their personal, but to actually start and establish building their business credit, which is another whole side of the business spectrum. And so with our credit building program, it's not a discouragement. It's definitely an educational, like Rachel mentioned, it's about being informed. It's about being prepared and being ready to pursue what you desire to do. And sometimes it does require you to get things in alignment in order to be successful. And so our credit builder program, we partner with the Consumer Credit Counselors of Savannah. And so they do all of our workshops, 1-hour workshops every month. And they provide you one-on-one consultation where they'll sit down with you and help you write out an action plan. So this is exactly what you need to do. This is exactly how you're going to get your credit score up. And then we provide $1,000 loan, 0% interest. All you have to do is pay back the principal, because our goal is not to kind of generate income off of that program. It's really to get your credit score to a level where you can come back and qualify for that larger amount that you desire. So we're very proud of that program. We've seen people who've gone through the program successfully. Their scores raised, about 100, over 100 points. And sometimes we've seen that increase happen even within 9 months of them starting the program. And so that's something we're excited about. We've seen a lot of success, and the credit score doesn't just affect your business lending, but it affects you trying to get a house, getting a car. I mean, it's just a holistic score, with our system that, it's good to have it. So that's one less thing you have to worry about, getting a decline on. So that is a resource that we provide, and we're proud to offer that to small business owners and women and BIPOC communities where we see that that's been a greatest struggle and need.
Oh, that's great. It really goes back to when you started off explaining the difference between a CDFI and a bank, being mission driven and a commitment to serving economically disadvantaged communities. So it's not just a no, we can't give you money, but it's like not yet. And here are steps to help improve. And I mean, it makes the person feel like they want to give me money. So yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. And both of you guys, I think both of you have really underscored the importance of education, importance of building your knowledge base, building your network so that you can have people in your corner who can advise and support you on your business journey. And I think related to that idea is also, like, we as individuals, we can't know everything. Even if we're super excited and super passionate about it, we can't know everything that it takes to run a business. And I think similar, we think about in our Remix EQ community when we are working to change the conditions for more equitable and just experiences, we can't do it by ourselves as an individual, as a single entity, and even as like an industry or a discipline. We need other people to join us in making these changes. And I think about partners and strategic partners that complement our work, that fill the gaps, or even amplify our impact. And so I feel like this applies to what we've been talking about today with business owners and making those connections, as you've mentioned. So I want to, our final set of questions is I want to talk a bit about partnerships and how that's important in the support that we've been talking about. So Rachel, what partnerships make closing the business funding gap for women and BIPOC entrepreneurs possible?
Yes. Well, I have to talk about my friend here, Victoria, and the services that SBAC provides. That's just one partnership that I have, but I also work with the chambers, SBDC, and the ACE Women's Entrepreneur Center, being able to be a resource for our business clients, be a resource for those individuals that I speak to at these various seminars, and being able to say, after they say, well, look, I'm not going to the bank because the bank doesn't approve me, I can say, look, there's other options. There are other options. There are other resources and partnerships and that that I can refer them to and confidently refer them to, because I know the success of their program. So I think it's so key for the bankers that may be listening in, that we do that. When I get a decline, earlier in my career, when I would work with a client, and Erica, Dr. Tate, you already mentioned it, and it's, you have that decline, the clients, I'm done. I don't, I'm not dealing with the banks anymore. It's taking the time to say, look, there's other options. No, this just means this no just mean not now, right now. So let me help you, let me guide you, let me tell you about some other resources available. But those are just local resources that I've used, that I continue to leverage as I meet clients that need to close that gap, need access to capital when I can't provide.
Great. Thank you. And then Victoria, how can financial institutions like banks and CDFIs work together to enable the success of women in BIPOC business owners?
Yes, and like Rachel said, we are very good partners. The bankers, the lending industry, reaching out to the local CDFI, we love referrals. So like Rachel said, when you have a client because of, your lending requirements that you're not able to serve, turn them over to a CDFI and see if they, because our risk models are different from the bank. So we can do a lot more riskier deals than a bank could. So send those referrals to a CDFI to see if they can assist that business owner. And then the relationship with that bank remains. So I definitely agree with the partnerships. There are also opportunities where a bank may be only able to do a certain amount of a loan. So they're only able to fund maybe 70%, then still connect with the CDFI, and we'll come in with the other 30 to make sure that that client has everything that they need to be successful. And again, we work together. We try, our goals is to help mitigate those risks. CDFIs are good at what they do. This is all we do. So we're experts at it. We know how to, put certain lending criterias and efforts into making a deal possible. We also offer educational workshops. A lot of banks offer free business platforms where business owners can go and get educated. And one thing I like about our organization is that we started doing industry-specific trainings. And so one really big industry that we're looking forward to launching in January will be the cosmetology industry. And so again, you get the expertise and your skill, your license on how to do hair. But as far as, okay, now we're taking this into a business concept, and, now you're ready to grow and expand. So really speaking their language and providing resources that they may not get elsewhere or find elsewhere. So we're going to compact all of that into a series that we're going to launch in January. It's going to run through March. And again, these are just opportunities where we provide not just the lending component, but we make sure that we back it up with education that makes sure that business will sustain.
Thank you. Oh, I just appreciate all just the underscoring of education and resources that you really are pouring into new or growing businesses so that they can be successful in their communities. So I appreciate that, and thank you. So in our Remix EQ community, each episode, our guests drop knowledge, they drop inspiration to make our world a more just place. And Victoria and Rachel, you've done just that. You've shared your career and personal twists and turns that have led both of you really on a mission-driven journey that has created pathways and opportunities for women and BIPOC business owners to access capital, to increase their business success. And I think more importantly, as you guys said over and over again, to have the opportunity to impact their communities. So we would love for you to just drop one last bit of information on us. So Victoria, in 60 seconds or less, as the new president and CEO of the Small Business Assistance Corporation, what are you inspired to do next?
And I think we talked on it a lot today. My goal is to just really expand the reach to businesses. I want to help be able to speak the language of business to where they can understand the benefits of services that they can receive and how they can seek out the right capital to help grow their business. So that would be my ultimate strategy going forward.
Great. I look forward to seeing you do it.
Yes.
Rachel, What keeps you inspired and committed to sharing your professional learning and experiences with your communities?
Well, because I've experienced in celebrating the wins with those clients that I've shared advice with and that follow the steps, right? That continues to inspire me to keep doing what I'm doing, keep sharing the information, keep empowering people, because ultimately it affects the communities we serve. And because there's a gap, because there's still in 2023, there's still a gap. There's still work for me to do. There's still a voice in me to share and inspire and make sure that I'm doing my part, sharing my knowledge and helping make a difference.
Thank you. Thank you, Rachel White and Victoria Saxton, for accepting my invitation to speak about what matters most to you, closing the funding gap and enabling business success for women and BIPOC business owners. I am grateful for the opportunity to listen and learn from you, especially about why you have chosen to make the world a more just place. So just a reminder, I will return for our final Remix EQ Live episode of the season on Friday, November 10th at 11:30 a.m. Eastern. This will be a community reflection show where I hold space for us to reflect together as a social justice warriors who work to make the world a more just place. We opened this season with a community reflection show entitled Invitation, where we considered how our invitations, our practices create the space, the condition, and comfort for people to speak and be heard. So we will close out our season focused on inquiry, where we will reflect on how the questions we ask and answer activate knowledge and action. So tune in on LinkedIn and YouTube. Also like and share our upcoming current and past shows, and make sure you watch your feed, check your inbox, and visit the Remix EQ Live webpage for episode announcements, recordings, and more information about our inspiring guests like Rachel and Victoria, as well as upcoming events. You can also watch, react, comment, and share my recent TEDx talk entitled Building Community to Make the World a More Just Place, which is inspired by the Remix EQ Live experience. So discover new ways to support the Remix EQ community via donation, cha-ching, and as well as purchasing merch like the Amplify notebook. And then while you're on the show's webpage, please poke around the website and learn more about my business, Blue Knowledge, which advances equity in schools and communities through collaborative research, inclusive evaluation, and equity-driven professional learning. You can also follow us on LinkedIn and the Blue Knowledge YouTube channel. And of course, I invite you to connect with me too here in these digital streets. Thank you, Remix EQ community, for your engagement, your encouragement, and of course, your rally, which is how we recognize, appreciate, learn, love, and take care of you as you work to make the world a more just place. I'm your host, Dr. Erica Tate, and this is Remix EQ Live. I'll see you next time.
Thank you.